Where are you, Christian? Why can't I find you? What is up, Watch fam? It is Michael from Theo and Harris, and Christian is still not... Yo!
What's up?
Where are you?
I'm in the car.
We have a live today.
You're kidding me.
No, it's today.
Oh, God.
Wow. This is awkward. Okay, hello everyone. That was Christian. He will be jumping in later through his phone. He had some plan that doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him in the video or whatever it may be. But just so everybody knows, Christian will be back next week and things will be back to regularly scheduled programming. Today, we're talking about Art Basel and seeing a lot of the same watch, the Rolex Daytona, and how does that make it not cool or just not as important? I don't really know how to say it. And then we're going to tie that into the big topic of conversation today. Phillips, Patek, Tiffany, LVMH, the Patek 5711 and the Tiffany collaboration, which broke the watch internet. It broke all 100 of us. We all were like, oh my God, another Patek is coming out. And so that's a big news. That's a big thing. And, of course, LVMH bought Tiffany, which LVMH is also getting into the watch space, very seriously. So that's a massive thing happening soon. So we'll see how that goes. Terry Stern said they're stopping the 5711 because it's too popular. He doesn't want to have a mono-watched company, and he wants to preserve the company for his children. So I'm going to talk about that and what I think he means. Or really, I guess I want to talk to you people like you were here and kind of see what you think about that, because usually you say a lot more interesting things than I say or Christian say in the comments, and the people that aren't saying interesting things are either making fun of how close Christian and I sit together or I don't know, some other weird thing that I didn't think about. And my face is usually shiny, so people always grab on that, but hopefully today it's good. Christian and I recently went to Art Basel for Grand Seiko, and what a lovely event that was. Christian and I actually didn't know it was a big thing. And Christian, on the way there, we had a driver, thank you, Grand Seiko, and Christian was saying to the driver, yeah, did you know people come from all over the world to Art Basel? And the driver was like, yeah, I'm a driver. This is the busiest time of the year. Do you guys not know what that is? And the answer is no. And the true answer is I still really don't know what Art Basel is. And I don't know what it is so much, and neither does Christian, that when we pulled up to the location, there was a road, and there was one side that said Design Miami, and there was another side with this other big building. I don't know, I said it with that accent, but Christian and I didn't know if it was on the left side or the right side, and then we said, oh, okay, it's on the right side. So we went into this building with all of our luggage, and we were dragging it, camera gear, and we were dragging it through this massive building and walking everywhere, and we were walking one way for 10 minutes, and then there was no one there, so this lady told us to go the other way, and then we finally got to these gates where all the security was, and we didn't have badges or COVID passes or anything. We're both vaccinated and masked and all that stuff, but we didn't have anything. And the people were like, sorry, we can't let you go. But at that point, we were running late. So Christian was like, listen, we have to go. We're late for this event and we're shooting the event. We can't miss it. And then people were like, sorry, sir. And Christian was like, I don't know what you want me to do here, but we have to go. And they let us in. And Christian and I went to this huge gallery. There was absolutely no one there. People were still putting up paintings and designs, and there was forklifts driving around everywhere. And Christian and I were going through all these back doors and deep in the guts of this building. And we're calling our contact at Grand Seiko. And we were like, where are you guys? And then we realized they were in the building over, waiting for us outside. And we essentially snuck in to the behind the scenes of everything and got in and just stood there for a little bit. So that was pretty funny, but not important. What is important is we went for Grand Seiko, and that is why I am wearing on my right wrist my Grand Seiko Omiwatari, aka SBGY 007, and on my left wrist I almost said the Grand Seiko Apple Watch. I'm wearing the Apple Watch Series 6. I'm only doing this for the video. I don't think I can do two wristed watches. It just feels odd. But as I said in my last video, I want to wear the Omiwatari way more, but I want to track my fitness too. I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll get a big strap and put it around my chest. But anyways, this is my Grand Seiko watch. This is my first Grand Seiko. We just did an event for Grand Seiko, the Journey of the Birch, with a design company, BCXSY, which was very cool. Their boutique was insane. There were other boutiques there for other watch companies, and Grand Seiko's was... A lot of the other boutiques put up pictures of what their watches represent, and Grand Seiko put trees in their boutique. So it was very cool, very fun. That film's coming out soon. But more importantly, again, didn't know Art Basel was a big thing until I started seeing people I knew there. I went on a date with this girl once a while ago, and she was there, and I was like, what are you doing here? And she was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, working. What about you? And she was like, I'm rich. I come here because I'm rich. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, so we found out it was a really cool thing, and the watch spotting at the event was eye-opening. Hodinkee has a cool article on it where they show you all the watches that people wore. But it was also eye-opening because there is a certain level of rich events where everybody is wearing a watch that is hard to get, and almost everybody's wearing the same watch, Rolex Daytona being a great example, because it's so hard to get that if you aren't wearing it, it's saying that you can't get it. So you have to wear the watch, otherwise people will assume you couldn't get one. And it was very weird because it really, I love the Daytona. I would love to have a Daytona, or really any modern day Rolex, but it was really weird to see that many of this grailed watch just around. I was at a boutique and I was looking at this person and they had a Rolex Daytona on. And I said to Christian, wow, look, a Rolex Daytona. And then he said to me, yeah, same with that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. And it's kind of mind blowing. And this ties into Patek, but it really detracted from the allure of a Daytona, because then it was just like, oh, everybody has that watch. And not that that's why you should ever not get something, but it definitely changes the perception on it. And when you go to a watch event and all of a sudden 16 people have a Royal Oak on, it's very odd. And it got me thinking, my favorite watch right now is my Nomos Club. That is my absolute favorite watch. But I think the Nomos Club Ahoy will probably be top 2-3 watches of all time. But showing your own personal style through a watch is very difficult because you have to find that watch. And it could be a Daytona. For a lot of people, I bet it is a Daytona. But for a lot of people deep in the watch world, you probably want to kind of carve out your own corner and have a watch that's your watch for some reason or another. I was just on the phone yesterday with a very good friend of mine, and he wears an Omega Speedmaster with probably one of the most incredible stories ever as to why he has it. We actually made a video about him. The Speedmaster is a very typical watch, but there's such a big story behind it that it's cool. And the story is fascinating, so fascinating, in fact, that the story takes him about an hour and a half to tell. The video is not an hour and a half, but if he's telling you the story, it takes about an hour and a half to tell. And you listen the entire time because the story's so good. And I don't know if everybody at Art Basel with Daytona, for example, could tell a story like that. And I wonder if that is their favorite watch, or if they got stuck in that kind of grips of, I have to show that I can get this watch, and the only way I can show that is wearing this watch, so I can't wear my favorite watch. Which is what I don't run into that, but when I have more than like 4 watches, I start to really I'm like, which watch is mine? Because mine I should wear every day. And it messes me up. But it was fun, because Christian and I go watch spotting or like fancy bag spotting and stuff just for fun. Usually the whole thing is Christian can say the exact brand and why it's very famous and cloudy and stuff, and I can tell you exactly how it's made and the materials and why one material is better than the other. So it's a really fun mix. And one time Christian and I were at Starbucks, and this lady had an Hermes Birkin and a Sky Dweller, and Christian and I were next to her, not calling any attention to ourselves, but Christian was like, wow, look at that bag, that's a beautiful bag. And I was like, wow, that's an Hermes Birkin. That's actually, I think that's alligator box leather. And Christian was like, I don't really know, but like that color only came out this year to this year. Like I think she has a custom this, and that Sky Dweller is actually this year, this reference, this reference, this reference. And I was like, do you think the alloy of Rolex, and just going nuts. And this lady next to us was like, what? But it was a lot of fun to see all these different watches. More Daytonas than I've ever seen in my life. More Cartier Santos than I've ever seen in my life. All in all, though, great event. I highly suggest you go. The big thing, the Patek 5711 is Patek's most famous watch ever. It got released in 2006, and it is stopping production in 2022 because there's nobody that wants to buy one anymore. So Patek said, well, since no one wants one, I guess we got to kill it. Just kidding. Was that a good joke? This is an unbelievably popular watch. There is a wait list longer than, I don't know, longer than a CVS receipt with people. Everybody wants a Patek 5711, and Terry Stern said, no more 5711s. You can all burn. I don't care. But what we will do is release 2 victory laps, which, if you think about it, if someone was a famous runner and they did a victory lap around the track, everybody would cheer. The second time, people would still cheer. Third time, I feel like people would be like, all right, this is very self-indulgent. We understand that you're fast. The Tiffany collab is Patek's second and final victory lap of the 5711 before they take it out to the ranch and shoot it in the head, which is leaving a lot of people upset and also is just putting a little bottle rocket on a 5711 price tag and shooting it up to the moon. Obviously not through Patek. This is a secondary market, but things about to go insane. And if you don't know, the 5711 Tiffany model is also, there's 170 of them, but there's one that is being publicly auctioned by Philips. And Philips says that the watch will probably go for an excess of $50,000, which is very funny considering the Patek sells for $52,000 and no one can get one. So I have no idea what it's going to go for. 100% of the proceeds go to charity, so that's very cool. Christian's usually the one that does accurate guessings of how much a watch is going to go for at auction. If I had to guess, I'd say $1 trillion or a little less, maybe a little bit more. No, but if I really had to guess, I would say, and I'm just making this number up, I have no reference. I don't follow auctions. I would like a Nautilus, but it's not really my favorite watch. Actually, a white ceramic Nautilus, yeah, it would be pretty cool. But I have no idea. $357,868 is how much I think it's going to go for. It's probably going to go for more, to be honest. A Tiffany stamped Patek, that is also the end of an era. I don't see an upper limit of that, especially because then you can't get the 5711 after that. So I think it's going to be big. But what's interesting, like I was saying about the Daytonas and stuff, is Terry Stern said basically that Patek is stopping the 5711 because it's just getting too popular. It is too big, and it can't, Patek being it, can't become a mono-watched company, or else what do they have to stand on? And he says that he wants his children to have the Patek brand with them and doesn't want it to die off, which I thought was very interesting because going to that Rolex point, if everybody at the boutique was wearing, at Art Basel was wearing a 5711, I would say the same thing. I wouldn't say a Daytona. I would say the 5711. And if everyone had one, you'd be like, oh, that's a 5711. Which, when it comes to that, though, I feel like you can take everybody that has a 5711 and put them in a room, and then you'd be like, oh, that's kind of boring. But when they're spread out across the world, it's a little different. But I see where he's coming from. I just want to know what you all think, because the 5711 is stopping. The Nautilus obviously isn't stopping. That watch will never stop. That watch is the right hook from Patek, and it fuels everything. So there'll be a new iteration of the Nautilus and a new material. I don't know what, but I want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, how much of it is we need to stop the 5711 and do a new model? How much of it is it's good marketing to say we're going to stop this because that has been the buzz for the entire year, and then the new model isn't going to be that much different at all? And I don't feel like this appeals to the very small niche of people that are looking at the tiniest detail at a 5711 and being like, no, don't do that. Don't remove that on the new watch. Because I feel like the Nautilus is always going to go. There's going to be a lot of demand, especially with social media and Patek's name now. I feel like the new model is going to do just as well, and you're going to have the exact same problems with a different number. So was it to drum up the new model? What is the reason? I am very curious to hear what you think. And going off of that, like, I watched this little documentary on the brand Supreme, And if you don't know Supreme, they sold bricks for a ton of money. Their whole methodology was we make a limited amount of a one-time thing, and it's gone, and you can never get it again. And that's why Supreme is Supreme, because it's always, you have to rush to get it, so you have to get it. It sells out immediately. Then all of a sudden it's on eBay. Prices are skyrocketing. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants a shirt that just says Supreme with stolen artwork or stolen designs, and it blows up. So I feel like that obviously has a lot to do with it. But then really what I was thinking on and what I kind of settled on is that is the brand that you are buying. Much like that's the brand you're buying from Supreme. If Supreme said, hey, that limited edition thing and the limited product and like the solo designs, that's done. We're just gonna, whatever, we're just gonna throw them out our window. Supreme wouldn't be Supreme. And Patek is not Supreme, obviously, but they are that company. They can't outwardly be like, well, this is a great selling watch, we'd never cut it out. They have to, and should be, because it's their whole thing, be like, no, we are still Patek Philippe. We are not this new version of Patek Philippe that you kind of like see from the media because we're doing so well now. We're not going to change who we are. We're going to continue what we're doing because that's why we're successful. We're not going to all of a sudden say, okay, we quadrupled production of this or that. We're going to stop our most famous model because we're sick of it. We have to do it. So I think it's very on brand. It's kind of like, I think it was Louis Vuitton, and this could be false. I don't think it is, but it could be false. They burned all their season bags at the end of the year that didn't sell just to be luxury and not have them, and then they cut a lot of flack, and now I don't think they do that anymore, but it's kind of that level of being like, no, this is a luxury company. When you come in, we serve you bubbly champagne because we're luxury. We don't do that cost-saving thing or that more efficient thing because that's not what you're paying for, and that's not what we sell. So that could be it. I think that's interesting. Also, just to remark on this dial, the Tiffany blue with the Tiffany engraving at the bottom, I love it. I think it's great. On the Hodinkee article, I forget his name, but he said, like, this is a great watch for a husband and wife to share. Also true, although if I had that, oh man, would I wear that watch every day. I would take my Apple Watch and I'd throw it across the room. I would never wear it again because that is so beautiful. And it's just loud enough where it's very recognizable, very cool. And if you're wondering, the reason that Patek and Tiffany collabed is because Tiffany was the first company to carry Patek way back when Patek was first starting. So that's why. And they also celebrated, there was a Tiffany Stan Patek for Patek's 150th year anniversary, so they're very, very, very closely tied together. And Terry Stern actually said this is also tied into the fact that LVMH purchased Tiffany, which we'll get into now, very briefly. There's a little bonus at the end. Christian and I made a video recently where we talked about the new LV diver watch that it's very ugly. Christian and I both said it's very ugly. But what was interesting that Christian and I both said, or really Christian said, is that you don't really want to bet against LVMH. The basically definition of conglomerate, this massive, powerful company, is now getting into watches. Seriously getting into watches, not fashion watches. And that's very big news. And now LVMH owns Tiffany. Tiffany is very closely tied to Patek. I feel like right there is there a pre-warning sign of an earthquake? Is a tsunami after an earthquake or before an earthquake? Definitely after, right? Because then it shakes. I feel like that was the earthquake, the tsunami's coming. That collaboration, Terry Stern congratulating LVMH and Tiffany. I just feel like that is like watching the Avengers slowly meet each other. And you're like, whoa, this is getting very powerful. Obviously, you really can't stop a force like a Patek, Tiffany, LVMH force because that is the market. You can't... There's obviously Richemont and Swatch and all that, but LVMH is kind of the king of all. So I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know what their move is. Anyways, that is about it. Feel free, and please do, check out the Theo and Harris Watch Strap Shop, the Theo and Harris Watch Shop, and check out some stuff. The holidays are coming. Treat yourself. Buy yourself whatever you want. I don't care. It's not my money. But I will see you next week with the big man, and things will be great.